Welcome everybody, Thomas Brandon here, and today in this video we're going to be diving into the big block modifieds again, but with a little bit of a twist. You see, I just finished a big block mod race, and one of the things that I was noticing was a lot of people were having some problems. Now of course this is to be expected, these are new cars, but in that race I was able to figure out quite a few things, not only with the driving style of the car, but with the setup. So in this video, I'm going to show you 3 little things that you can do to take up to a half second per lap off your times in the big block model. So with that being said, let's dive in. Welcome everybody, thank you very much for being here. As always, I appreciate you joining me, and really quick, if you would like to join me during my live stream when I actually race cars like this or the sprint cars, basically anything on dirt minus the street stocks and legends, you can join me when I live stream on Twitch every Wednesdays and Thursdays. Link down in the description below. Now when it comes to the big block modifieds, these things are quickly becoming one of my favorite cars. Although I'm not a big fan of the way they look, I think they're actually kind of hideous, but in terms of driving and the physics behind them, they are a ton of fun. Now, the biggest thing about these cars is that you get rewarded for your driving and your line far more than just about all of the other cars in iRacing. Now, in the race that I just did, this was shown whether it was when we first started on a 0% clean track or at the end of the 50 lap race when the track was closer to 60 or 70%. Now, of course, you know me, I like to just teach people what to do. And so that's what we're going to be doing in this video is I'm going to show you 3 things that I figured out with these cars that are going to help you immensely in terms of your lap time, and not only that, the comfort of the car, so you can handle this thing whether you are on a fresh track or when the track starts to get slick. All right, so the first thing that we got to do is we need to lay down kind of a baseline, okay? And then to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the baseline setup that we covered in the live setup workshop that I did just a couple of days ago here on YouTube. Now, if you did not see that setup workshop, I'll have a link for you down in the description below. I'll also have a thing that pops up here, here or here. I don't know where it'll be. Somewhere here on the screen, it'll pop up. But check that out because there is some pretty good information in there, and we are going to cover some of the stuff that we talked about in that. And in that video or live stream, I did mention that I was going to be doing a lot more testing, and we're seeing the results of the tests right now as I'm covering a couple of these things here. So with this baseline setup, what we've got is this. I've got 4 inches of stagger. Tire pressures are 12, 10, 10, and 8. On the chassis side of things, we're running a 175, 250 springs up front with a 200, 175 in the rear, 2.9 shock, 7.2 shock, 2 inches of wheel spacing on the right front, 0 on the left front. And then a 5.693 shock in the rear. Trailing arms are 26 and 18. No wheel spacing on the right rear, but 1 inch on the left rear. 16.5 on the J-bar, 16.5 on the droop. 149 pounds to the left rear. And then axle J-bar, 5 gallons of fuel right now. Axle lead and final drive, right? So that's what we've got for our baseline setup. Now, this is a 5% track. Now, normally on a 5% track, that means you are out there wide open, hammer down, right? Like if you're in a sprint car, you're wide open on this track. You're not lifting, you're not doing anything, you're just wide open, keep it straight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn a couple of laps. I'm going to do it wide open, like most people were just doing in the session that I was in. Now, in order to keep this as fair as possible, I'm just going to try to go right through the middle of the track, and I'll turn a few laps so we have, a sample size to compare, okay? Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to follow this light patch here through kind of the middle of the track, and as you can see, I'm wide open. kind of slid out there a little bit, but that's okay. All right, we'll turn one more lap here just so we have, 3 laps be a decent sample size in terms of what lap times are looking like. All right, so that's our 3 laps right through the middle of the track, wide open, okay, with our baseline setup. So let's take a quick look at what those lap times looked like. And we had 16.5, 16.6, and 16.5. All right, so let's remember that. 16.5, 16.6, 16.5. Obviously, we don't really have to remember them because we'll be able to come back and look. But now, with the same base setup, okay, let's do tip number 1, throttle control. See, the key to these cars is keeping them as straight as possible and also as hooked up as possible. In order to do that, you've got to work the throttle. Now pay attention to my throttle inputs because you're going to notice something here. I did get a little bit lower that time, so let's go up a little bit higher. I want to try to keep this as fair and as honest as possible. But you see how I'm rolling out of the throttle and rolling back in? I'm not getting it super sideways on the entrance. Right there, I kind of caught that bump, but that's all right. We were able to recover. So there's our 3 laps, right? Just using throttle control. Strictly throttle control on the same exact line that we were running, wide open. And like I said, this is a 5% track, okay? Laps. 16.0, 16.1, 16.1. We took off a half a second by using, 60% throttle through the corners in the middle of the track. It's not like we were on the bottom. We were in the middle, and we were able to take off a half a second. That is an insane reduction in time just by keeping the car straight and using throttle control. So obviously you're probably thinking, well, Tommy, just with that alone, how can we make that better? Well, let me show you. So the way to improve this is going to be a couple of things. Number 1 is your springs. Number 2 is your axle lead. So instead of me readjusting everything, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up my Charlotte qualifying setup. Now, keep in mind, I've also got a feature setup, which is basically the exact same thing, just with the fuel. And if you actually want to get these setups, you can have them for free. I'll give them to you. Just head over to my Discord server. I'll have a link down in the description below. Go over there, join that, and you can download and have these setups for free. All right, I'll just give them to you. But if you look, the biggest difference that we have here is that I soften the right rear spring. So I'm hillbillying both the front and rear springs. And that's a term that you use, meaning you've got reverse springs. Okay. If it was, a sprint car, we were talking about the bars, we would call it reverse split. But a lot of times with these cars, or not I don't know about these because I don't know a whole lot about Northeast mods, but modifieds, late models, things like that, they always say they call it hillbilly in the springs. All right. At least they used to back in the day. Don't know if they still do, but that's what we did here. All I did was I softened the right front spring down to 175, softened the right rear spring down to 175, and then adjusted the left sides to go with it. So instead of being 200 on the right rear and 175 on the left rear, I went 175 on the right rear, 200 on the left rear. So I flipped it. I reversed it. Then left the gear alone and the left rear bite alone. I increased the axle lead to 4/16. What that does is that helps the car stay straighter. Okay, so now let's go out and turn 3 more laps again. All right, lap 1. I got a little sideways that time. I kind of bobbled it. So there's our 3 laps. Let's take a look at the lap times. And as you can see, just by doing that on those last 3 laps, we knocked off another 1/10 of a second off of each lap. So when you look at that in totality, we saved 6/10 of a second per lap just by making a couple simple adjustments on the chassis and by using less throttle in the corners. Now, obviously, there's still a whole lot more for me to learn when it comes to these cars, but figuring that out and being able to share it with you is a great start. And I'm really looking forward to running these things more, working with them more, and really dissecting them using Motec, which I've just began doing yesterday. So if you want to actually see that type of stuff when I put those videos out here in the very near future, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to this channel, and also hit that notification bell so you're notified when I put out those videos. But anyways, that's going to do it all for this video. Now, really quick before I go, do me a favor. If you like this video, please hit that like button. Also, share this video. And like I said before, make sure to subscribe. And remember, if you would like to join me when I'm actually running cars like this, the wing sprint cars, late models, you name it, on dirt, check out my live stream on Twitch. I live stream, like I said, every Wednesday and Thursday. Link down in the description below. You can join me. We got an awesome group that shows up. It's a ton of fun. Do it a couple of hours each week, and we just have a really good time doing it. And a lot of times I'm building setups and walking you through exactly what I'm doing, talking you through the race with you the whole time. Like I said, it's a lot of fun. So if you want to join me for that, make sure to check out that, like I said, link down in the description below. And then finally, if you want to get the setup that I just showed you and ran with, or if you want to get any of the other setups that I have for all of the other dirt cars minus street stocks and legends, be sure to check out the School of Sim Racing Discord server. I got the link down in the description below. It's an awesome community. There's a ton of people in there that are willing to help you, that love to help each other, always doing hosted races, talking about different things. It's just an awesome group, and in my opinion, it's the best there is in the sim racing community. So links for all of that stuff down in the description below. But that'll do it. As always, I want to thank you for joining me, and until next time, I want to wish you good luck, good racing. Take care.